Hey everyone, it's Metalhead Nation 1021. It's been a while. I haven't really uploaded to this platform in, I think, half a year at this point. And I've kind of missed it, not gonna lie. So I decided to come back with a topic I have been interested in doing since I started the channel. And that would be the 10 albums, or 10 of the albums, that got me into death metal initially. There's a huge selection of albums to choose from. I tried to narrow it down to the most accurate representation of my journey from where I started in the genre to where I am now. So I might be forgetting a few albums, or I might be forgetting a few artists. But this is probably the best list I can compile with the way I've documented my start in the genre to now. It's probably been about 6 years at this point that I've, like, from my introduction to the genre to where I am now. I'd say about 3 of those years, maybe 4, I kind of got really into it. Probably 3. 3 years I've been really into the genre. It's been, I don't want to say an obsession, but it's definitely been something that I'm willing to pour a lot of money and time into. Researching, listening to, trying to learn how to play. It's something I'm very passionate about. So this video right here is a trip down memory lane. I can't really go very deep into it like a lot of other metal YouTubers can. I'm, in some cases, half of their age or less. So most of these are like top 20s that you'll see on YouTube. This is a top 10, just because I wanted to really pinpoint the ones that have defined so far and not try to slide in anything that might not really define my listening experience. So, without further ado, the first album on this list is Abnormality, Contaminating the Hive Mind. Abnormality are a brutal technical death metal band. I believe they formed in the mid-2000s. They released a demo in 2007, and that was actually my introduction to them. It was on the game Rock Band 2. It was I can't remember the name of the song. I just remember it was from their 2007 demo. And once I heard that a few times and I started getting into it, I decided to track their music down on iTunes. And I found Contaminating the Hive Mind. I bought 2 songs off of it, and I listened to those 2 on repeat for months. This was before I really had access to music in general. I don't think Spotify was even around back then. I didn't know about Bandcamp at that point. And I didn't have enough money to buy CDs or constantly get iTunes gift cards or anything like that. So basically, I subsided off of these 2 songs for a long time. So number 1 is Abnormality, Contaminating the Hive Mind. Great album, and they've gone on to do many great things since then. My second album is Whitechapel, and that is Our Endless War. This was the first death metal album, that I ever purchased in full, and ever listened to in full. This was in my 6th grade year. This was about 6 years ago. I won some sort of a contest, or I did something that ended up getting me an iTunes gift card. And I went on the iTunes homepage on my computer, and I went to the metal tab, because back then I was into a bit more basic metal, if that's the best way to put it. And I was just sampling all the songs, and that one came up, and I listened to it, and I got hooked. I bought the whole album right then and there. And I've probably listened to the album at least 2 times, just, like, again, subsiding off of what I could access at that time, being like 6th grade, so 12 years old probably. 12 years old. So, then that album is contestably death metal. Obviously it's deathcore, it depends on what you're going to define as death metal or not. But anyways, I decided to include it. Number 3 is Nile, Those Whom the Gods Detest. Definitely not their best album in my opinion. It's an amazing album, but it's not their best. I think Annihilation and In Their Darkened Shrines are both better albums. And I think a lot of people will agree with me on that, especially with Annihilation. But anyways, back in the day, I was really specifically into fast double bass and just speed in general when it came to music. I listened, basically when I started hearing bands like Slayer and other surface level bands in the metal genre that were playing fast, I was like, I want to find the next step upwards in terms of speed. And I went down the rabbit hole on YouTube, fastest double bass videos. Those things were so popular back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Most of the videos when I saw them were like years old at that point, but it was still cool to come across these videos and learn about so many new bands. The one that grabbed my attention just because of how many times it was mentioned was Nile. So check their music out. And the one in terms of drumming that caught my ear the most was Those Whom the Gods Detest. They play a ton of those tracks live, and when I went to go see them live, I remember them playing a good portion of their set from that album, probably more than any other album at least. And that was actually my first death metal concert, and it was my third concert overall. So Nile definitely started getting me really deep into the music. Number 4 is Cannibal Corpse, Skeletal Domain. At this point, I had sort of gotten into death metal as a genre and less as finding an album that I liked that just happened to be death metal. I started researching bands. I realized there was a pattern, and I started researching bands in death metal. And starting with the older bands, or the more popular bands, it was inevitable that I'd find Cannibal Corpse. A Skeletal Domain was the newest album at the time, so it's the one that I jumped onto. This would have been late 2016, early 2017. And I got hooked on it. I know it's generally not considered one of their best, but I think it's amazing. So I listened the heck out of that one. I have it on CD. I just don't know where the CD is at the moment. It's somewhere in my house. But great album. Some of the just most brutal riffs. When you sit down and listen to it, the production is great. I think people can say it's overproduced. I think it's perfect. Anyways, great album. One of the first ones that I really got obsessed with. Now the album selections get a bit more personal. So this was around my birthday a few years ago, and my parents were out of town, and I was with my grandparents, and we went to this restaurant slash bar slash music area, and I saw some guy wearing a Morbid Angel hoodie. I started talking to him. I was very social. I knew about Morbid Angel. I still wasn't too deep into metal in general, but I had enough knowledge to know who Morbid Angel was, of course. And started talking to him, and turns out he's in a band. So he gives me a copy of his album for free, which was amazing. It was great. I appreciate it so much. I've talked the heck out of this band on this channel. You guys have heard me say it 1,000 times. If you watched any of my other videos, Depths of Chaos, Filth and Fear. Amazing album. That's what's playing in the background right now. I practically worship this album at this point. The most important thing about this album is that it showed me that there was a whole underground scene within the death metal genre in the community that I had not known. I didn't know it existed before. So this is all new to me, and this threw me down a rabbit hole that I have still been exploring to this day, 3 or 4 years later. It's been crazy, and I don't regret it at all. I love it. So again, Deeds of Flesh. Depths of Chaos, Filth and Fear. But my mistake right there leads us into the next selection, which is Deeds of Flesh, of What to Come. I think it was in 2008 is when it was released. During my conversation with the guys that gave me their Depths of Chaos album, they mentioned bands that they'd seen and played with and whatnot, and I told them bands I was interested in, and they said I should check out a band called Deeds of Flesh. I did, and I love the sound. This is a controversial opinion, I think. I think a lot of people, even within the technical death metal fan base, are divisive on this band. But this was the first album I listened to by them. I love it. I love all their albums that I've heard. Their early work, their later work, everything. It's sad to hear that I believe their guitarist passed away a few years ago. And it's also exciting to know that they're releasing the sessions now as an album that they did with him, if I'm not mistaken. There's some announcement coming soon, and I think we all believe it's going to be a new album. So amazing album. On a similar vein, number 8 is Origin Antithesis. Again, listening for fast music, Origin was another high point there. You can't get any faster than Nile and Origin. Antithesis is generally considered their best album, and it's definitely their most popular. And yeah, the sweet picking on the Aftermath. Oh my gosh. I could listen to that song over and over again on repeat. It's brutal, it's fast, it's technical. It is one of the best death metal songs I've ever heard. And I don't think a lot of people will agree with me, but in my opinion, it's one of the best. Number 9. I bought this. This is one of the first death metal albums that I bought, but I didn't really get into it. Like, on physical copy, I should say. I didn't really get into it until a few years into my obsession. And that is Suffocation of the Dark Light at number 9. Oh my gosh. I don't know what to say about this album that hasn't already been said. It's... Well, I mean, about the band, I should say. This album seems to get overlooked a lot, as well as most of their more recent albums. This one definitely sounds a lot different than what you'll hear during the Mike Smith era and whatnot. You could argue it's a lot more deathcore-ish, I guess, but I don't think that works to its disadvantage. I think that it plays off of the sound that the band is going for on this album very well, and it doesn't fall like, for example, something like Cryptopsy's 2008 album, which is panned. This one is definitely a great album. It just depends on if you'll enjoy it or not. It depends on how much you enjoy some of the tropes that are used in like deathcore for the most part. It's a great album though. Number 9, I think I accidentally skipped this one earlier, is Devourment's Molesting the Decapitated. This was my introduction to brutal death metal and slam. I think it was most people's. Oh my gosh. This album and everything Devourment did in the late 90s and the early 2000s, and it's their new album even. Great. Perfect. I cannot complain. It is all amazing. 138, again, Molesting the Decapitated, Butcher the Weak. Oh my gosh. This opened up a whole new subgenre within death metal, which is one that I have been very much a part of for years at this point. I love the brutal death metal and slam community, and I love the artists. It's just such a fun genre, and without them, it probably would have never gotten as big, and arguably they were either the inventors or one of the innovators of the genre, or both. So that leaves us with one more album. It's another one I've talked about, and if you've been looking at my shirt, if you could even see it, you'll know that it's Abominable Dark Museum. Technically not a full length. I believe this is a demo, and this is a re-release of that demo with new artwork, which is awesome, by the way. And it came out in 2017. The original came out in 1991. Abominable is an underrated death metal gem, in my opinion. The band is a Virginia native, which is awesome. It gives me pride to say that this band is in my home state. And it was just an amazing demo. This album is one of the few old school death metal albums that I own on physical, and I need to get more. I love the genre. It's just hard to come across these things in a record store. But this one right here, great. I know the artist. He's an awesome guy. I've heard so much good stuff about this album from people in my area that are into death metal. So it's cool to have that home state pride when it comes to a band. Again, awesome artwork, awesome songs, just beautiful old school death metal that luckily got re-released, which sadly a lot of demos and EPs and albums don't get that same treatment to this day, which is sad. But that's the end of the list. There are so many other bands that have contributed to my journey and my love of death metal and extreme metal in general. I might do a list for black metal or thrash metal or gore grind or grindcore at one point. I don't know. I'd like to. This one was by far the easiest one to make. So I might do a part 2 to this, or I might just do some more videos showcasing some death metal that I like. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you for being patient with me not uploading for 6 months. And it's nice to be back. I miss this. And hopefully my channel's still alive. And I have some other stuff to show other than metal. I have a lot of progressive rock as well, so I might do a few videos on that. If you'd want to see that, just put it in the comments and I might get to it. I have a ton of albums now that I've gotten throughout the last year, so both death metal and prog rock. So thank you for watching the video. This has been the 10 death metal albums that influenced me or got me into the genre. Again, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.